Welcome back! In this part of the course, you'll take everything you've learned about the user problem you're trying to solve and come up with a basic version of your dedicated mobile app. You'll start by creating paper wireframes to come up with lots of ideas for your dedicated mobile app. Then, you'll take the best parts of your paper wireframes and create digital wireframes in Figma or Adobe XD. After that, you'll turn your digital wireframes into a low-fidelity prototype. With your lo-fi prototype ready to go, it'll be time to get some feedback about your designs from real people. You'll plan a usability study, conduct a usability study, and analyze and synthesize your research results. Finally, you'll make changes to your designs based on insights from your research. Ready to get started? Let's go. Earlier, you created sketches to come up with ideas for the design of your project. Now, it's time to use those sketches to create wireframes for your dedicated mobile app. You might remember that a wireframe is an outline or sketch of a product or a screen. Wireframes help designers figure out how a page is arranged. Wireframes also help designers envision how each feature of a product fits with the others, and how the product will likely be used. There are two ways to create wireframes: paper and digital. Designers usually start with paper wireframes to plan the initial direction of the design. Later, these paper wireframes are turned into digital wireframes to refine and build out the entire user flow. Platforms like Figma and Adobe XD are great for this. Wireframes are the foundation of your app's interface. So, it's important to think carefully about how you create your wireframes and to come up with lots of ideas for your wires before deciding on one direction for your design. But before you begin your first wireframes for your dedicated mobile app, be sure to consider your app's information architecture. Creating information architecture is an important part of UX design for many reasons. First and foremost, IA organizes and defines the overall structure for the app or site. Second, it provides a high-level view of a product. As a UX designer, you need to understand how the elements of a product fit together and relate to each other in order to create the design of that product. Third, IA helps stakeholders review your designs. Stakeholders can evaluate whether the content in the site or app is the correct type of content, and if it's placed in the appropriate places to help achieve business or product goals. Strong IA also helps engineers understand how to organize the data, so the eventual development of the product matches the visual designs you've created. So not only will your users benefit from good IA, it will make your colleagues' jobs easier too. Finally, an information architecture that's flexible allows your ideas to grow and iterate with the design. The ability to adapt your approach at different stages of a project is one of a UX designer's most necessary skills. For example, you should group your information architecture in a way that allows you to add additional categories in the future. So, take a moment to think through your app's information architecture to organize the structure of the screens you're about to sketch. Then, you'll be ready to get started with paper wireframes. Let's get into paper wireframes. As a quick refresher, a wireframe is an outline or a sketch of a product or screen. Wireframes are made up of lines and simple shapes. Paper wireframes are useful because they're simple hand drawings that establish the basic structure of a page and highlight the intended function of each element. The best part about wireframes is that you only need a piece of paper and a pen or pencil to make one. So why do UX designers create paper wireframes? They're fast, inexpensive, allow you to explore lots of ideas, and help narrow your focus on the best parts of the wireframe you draw. With all of these benefits in mind, are you ready to get started with creating your own paper wireframes? If so, there are 4 simple steps to drawing your wireframes. First, write a quick list of the information that needs to go on the page you're wireframing. Second, Draw at least 5 different versions of how to structure information on the page. Third, review the different versions of your wireframe to help you refine it. Add a star next to the pieces you like the most. And fourth, choose the parts of your wireframe you want to explore further in a digital wireframe. Great, you're all done. Sketching on paper is a great way to refine your early ideas. It's important to keep an open mind to a variety of design approaches. So, use this time to identify the features and layouts you like best. And be sure to take photos of your paper wireframes to include in your portfolio, so you can showcase your full design process. You don't need to be a great artist or illustrator to take full advantage of paper wireframes. Just a little bit of practice can get you comfortable with using a few simple lines to convey complex ideas. Using pen and paper enables you to visually explore many concepts and to evaluate and iterate quickly without getting too invested in perfect-looking pixels on a screen. We just covered the basics of paper wireframes, and you created paper wireframes for your own project. They're a great starting point for designs. Now you're ready to turn your paper wireframes into a more advanced digital version of your project. Digital wireframes are outlines or sketches of a product created with digital software. The goal of digital wireframes is to add enough detail to your product that users can understand its basic features and navigation. Compared to the quick and messy process of creating a paper wireframe, digital wireframes focus on a cleaner, structured design. Digital wireframes allow designers to explore how a product will function and how a user will move through the flow without having to design every detail. Designers also use digital wireframes because they're easier to share than paper wireframes. Sharing a link to a design takes a lot less time than making paper photocopies and mailing them. Earlier in the certificate program, we created digital wireframes using Figma and Adobe XD and provided resources on both tools. Whether you use Figma or Adobe XD to create your project in this course is up to you. Whichever tool you use, remember these tips when building digital wireframes. First, identify some key features and details from your paper wireframes that you can carry over into a digital version. During brainstorming and sketching, you've probably gone through a few versions of your app's layout. Pull from those sketches to start crafting the digital wireframes you'd like to test. Next, use actual content for important pieces of text in your digital wireframes instead of placeholder text, like lorem ipsum. Labeling essential features like a menu or the next button helps users understand how to navigate the wireframe. And finally, wait to add expressive content, like color and images. You'll add those elements when you create mockups. Now it's your turn to create digital wireframes for your dedicated mobile app. Remember to keep it simple and focus on the structure of each page and how the pages fit together, not the details. You've created wireframes for your dedicated mobile app. Now you're ready to build a low-fidelity prototype of your design. As a refresher, a prototype is an early model of a product that demonstrates functionality. The goal of prototyping is to identify and solve problems related to the function of your app. Later, you'll get a chance to test your prototype with real people and receive feedback to improve your designs. When you're designing your dedicated mobile app in this course, you can use Figma or Adobe XD. Since each platform provides its own unique set of abilities, the choice is really up to you. To create low-fidelity prototypes, you don't need to outline and link all of the screens in your app. Instead, you should focus on defining layouts and interactions for the specific user flow you want to test. Once you're satisfied with your prototype, you can start the testing phase to get feedback that will inform its high-fidelity version. Keep in mind, this is the first draft of your design. You might feel like you need to perfect your prototype here, but the testing phase is meant to identify problems you didn't anticipate while designing. So it's important not to get too focused on trying to find every single problem. That's it for now. In the next video, you'll start planning a UX research study to test your low-fidelity prototype. So before you carry out a usability study, you have to create a research plan. Your plan will define what you'll test and measure, and how it relates to your project. Your research plan is the foundation of your research study. A research plan organizes and outlines every part of your upcoming usability study from start to finish. If your plan is created well, you're more likely to get valuable research results that you can use to improve your designs. There are 7 elements in a UX research study plan. Let's go over them together. The first element is the project background, which summarizes the situation that made this research necessary. Basically, it's a brief explanation about why you're doing the research, which you can give to anyone who asks. Second is the research goals. Here, you lay out what you're trying to solve with this design, or what you'd like the outcomes of the research to be. The goals of your research will be different from project to project. Third, write detailed research questions for your project. These are the questions you plan to answer during the study. The research questions should be actionable and specific, and you should avoid leading questions. But keep in mind that these should not be the literal questions you plan to ask study participants. Fourth, identify your key performance indicators, or KPIs, which are the critical measures of progress toward an end goal. To do this, ask yourself this question: what's a sign that we're making progress toward our ultimate goal? Fifth is the methodology, where you outline the steps you plan to take in your research, including how you'll collect and analyze data. Sixth is determining who your study participants will be. Here, you need to figure out who needs to be involved in the research to help you study the right metrics. Since your current project focuses on designing for social good, you might want to consider including study participants who are members of the community you're trying to serve. And finally, you'll need to write a script for your study, or the questions you'll ask participants during your research. This is also known as the discussion guide. After creating a UX research plan that includes these 7 elements, you'll be all set to test the main user flow of your dedicated mobile app. If you need more guidance, check out the course readings and revisit the videos from an earlier course. Otherwise, get ready to create your own research plan. We just explored how to plan a study. Now it's time to review how to do the research. Let's get started. For this course, you'll conduct a usability study to get feedback about your low-fidelity prototype. A usability study is a research method that helps us understand how easy it is for participants to do core tasks in a product. UX designers use insights from the study to improve their designs. There are 2 types of usability studies: moderated and unmoderated. In moderated usability studies, a moderator guides participants through the study in real time. The moderator in these studies asks specific questions, follows up in real time, and builds a dialogue with the participants. In unmoderated usability studies, the participants test prototypes without a moderator present. Usually, the study is recorded on video and the UX team reviews the footage after the study. At this point in the course, you're ready to conduct the first usability study for your project, focused on your low-fidelity prototype. Conducting a usability study at this point in the design process is beneficial because your design is less complex, which means it's less expensive to make changes. But remember that the UX design process is all about iteration. So later in the course, you'll have the option to conduct another usability study about your high-fidelity prototype too. One more thing. Determining the size of your study depends on the project, but around 5 to 8 participants is a good start. It's a large enough sample size to gather real data, but it's not so large that the study costs a lot of money or takes a long time. If you'd like to review a usability study in more detail, check out the course readings. And that's it for the second step of a UX research study, conducting the research. You're ready to gather feedback about your own designs from real participants. It's the moment of truth. During a usability study, you'll receive a lot of feedback from participants, and I mean a lot. Be prepared to make changes to your designs or even rework an entire screen. That's totally normal. In order to determine the changes to make in your designs, you'll need to complete the third step of a UX research study: analyzing and synthesizing the research results. Analyzing the results from your research is all about turning observations into actionable insights. As a quick refresher, an insight is an observation that helps you understand the user or their needs from a new perspective. In other words, insights help explain what data means and what to do with it. This process of turning observations into insights can be completed in just 4 steps. First, gather all of the data from the usability study in one place. This includes everything from the observations you quickly scribbled on sticky notes to the notes you took in Google Docs or Sheets. Be sure to check with your team and gather any notes they might have taken too. Next, organize the data. If you wrote your observations on sticky notes, you might use a method called affinity diagramming to organize your data. Or if you use spreadsheets for note-taking, you've already started organizing the data without even realizing it. Each method is reliable, so it's entirely up to you how to organize your data. After you organize your data, you're ready to find themes. One of the key goals of user research is to identify themes or patterns that are common among participants. To do this, we'll ask ourselves 2 key questions. What common patterns stand out in the data you collected? And what do these patterns tell you about your product design? Once you recognize the themes, it's easier to turn the observations into something actionable. Finally, come up with insights based on the themes. Strong insights are grounded in real data and answer the research questions from your plan. Depending on the amount of data you've collected, you should be able to come up with a few different themes and insights. Now it's your turn to analyze the observations from your own usability study and come up with insights. Put your thinking cap on. You've just completed the steps in a UX research study: planning your research, conducting a usability study, and analyzing your research findings. In this video, I'll go over how to modify your low-fidelity prototype based on the insights you developed. So why do we do this? Conducting research, like a usability study, helps us identify the pain points that participants experience with different prototypes. Each time we learn about a pain point, there's an opportunity to update the design and make the experience better for users. That way, the issues can be fixed before the final product launches. It's helpful to prioritize your research insights from the most urgent to the least urgent. You'll likely do this prioritization with project stakeholders like a fellow designer, the product manager, or an engineering lead. There are a few insights that should be considered a priority 0, or P0, which means they must be fixed for your product to work. Users of all abilities, identities, and experiences need to be able to successfully move through your product's design. If there were any parts of your design that were inequitable or inaccessible, you need to fix them now. This is particularly important for your current project, since you're focused on designing for social good. In addition, if there was a part of the design that prevented the user from completing the main user flow, or if there were any places where the user felt tricked, those insights are P0s to address too. After you identify your P0 insights, you'll likely have a lot of insights left to take action on. These insights can be categorized into buckets based on their priority. In addition to priority 0, you might have buckets called priority 1 and priority 2. Whether you've been creating your wireframes and low-fidelity prototype in Figma or Adobe XD, it's time to jump back into your designs and make updates. Don't be afraid to make big changes to improve the user experience in your app. Good luck.
Congratulations on finishing this course from the Google UX Design Certificate. You can access the full experience, including job search help, and start to earn your certificate by clicking on the icon or the link in the description below. Watch the next video in the course by clicking here, and subscribe to our channel for more from upcoming Google Career Certificates.